And we're live and we're back this week in Coverager. Hope everyone had a good 4th of July. It's Pink Shirt Friday. I'm getting my COVID hair back. So it's time to kind of get all crazy. My co-hosts, as usual, Avi and Shefi. Good morning to you.
Good
Good
morning.
morning. Good to be back.
So we've had actually 2 weeks prior, it was a fairly quiet week. We pretty much had we could have gone last weekend with some really big news, but that news continued over to this week. Let's see if we get to that. But there was a whole bunch of other stuff that actually happened this week. This was a pretty action-packed week. Avi, I'll kick it over to you. What was your top story for the week?
In terms of clicks, no doubt Walmart forming an insurance agency was the biggest story of the week. Uh, Interesting story because I remember still here people wondering when Amazon, if Amazon will enter insurance, what will it look like? And then Walmart comes in and launches probably the best product they could have, Medicare, just because they have the pharmacies and the target audience. And it's a really, really interesting move. And I have a few questions, of course. And I'm, originally I'm from New York, so there's not much of a Walmart there. But I've been in Maine for the past 4 months. I'm going home, by the way, on Saturday.
Good
So
for you.
I hope to, yeah,
Finally.
it's time. And I see Walmart here, and I went to Walmart, and they have the slogan: "Save money, live better." And for a brand, that is the ultimate promise, like without being too fancy or
Yep.
live, or the fact that you're breathing doesn't mean that you're living and all that sophisticated stuff. Very simple. People relate to that. Walmart here in Maine, it's like a thing. It's part of the community. People go in to get their hair done, to buy jeans, to buy groceries. So obviously they have the distribution now. The thing is, it's probably going to be cold calling, I believe.
What is
But
what is it going to be
it,
called?
cold calling, they're probably going to cold call
Oh, okay.
customers.
Okay.
Now, the thing is, when you get a call and says, "Hey, this is Walmart on the line," that's a positive. When you get a call, "Hey, this is a Health IQ, Assurance IQ, Select Quote," who the hell are you? We don't
Yeah,
know you.
exactly. Yeah.
And that's the advantage of Walmart. My question is, will they do this business properly? And I bet you they will. They won't try to oversell like other companies do. They don't try to sell you something that you don't really need. So I believe they're going to keep it clean. They're going to only try to do the right thing. But it's a big deal, and I wonder how this will impact Select Quote now that it's a public company. Assurance IQ, of course, they're preparing for Q4. Walmart is planning to start this new initiative in August, when kind of the season is about to start. So it's a big deal. I think that's a really good product for them. I don't see them going into PNC and all that. I don't believe they want to. But the Medicare with the pharmacy, with the Live Well and all that stuff, I think it's a smart move.
Sheffy?
Well, I think so. Amazon is in the healthcare insurance business, but obviously, healthcare is very much different dynamics than like the traditional accident and health and property and casualty, right? So they're coming at it from a different angle. I think it's safe to say that everybody wants a piece of the insurance pie because when insurance is done right, it's a neutral, positive product, right? I mean, and people need it. So it makes a lot of sense. There are still open questions. Who are they going to be? I mean, who's the insurer behind this? Obviously, they're an agency, so they'll be working with some. And what we've seen is that big brands tend to attract big brands. So Amazon attracted Berkshire Hathaway, right? So let's see who Walmart is going to attract. I don't necessarily think it's
United
going to be
Healthcare, Humana, all the big names are going to be there, just like in
right.
any other. Yeah, they'll have to.
So
They'll have to be there.
the game is going to be in distribution. So that's what it is. And
Yeah.
here's an opportunity to make more revenue for Walmart and be a one-stop shop. And you're listening to Israelis talk about Walmart. I've been to Walmart probably once in my life when I visited Maine. And I went specifically to the place where Avi said you can get a haircut just so I could see what that looks like. And you know,
You get I
It
think it's
makes
like a
sense.
blowout for $30 for a
Well,
woman. That's like a bargain.
yeah, well,
Yeah.
Walmart's, I wouldn't say they've reconfigured their business model. Their business model has always stayed the same. They've changed aspects of their business model, um, how they get to their target customer, and how they interact with them. So, I used to be a Walmart shopper, um, before, prior when I was younger. Then I wasn't for many years. I was not a Walmart shopper, and then during the pandemic, I became a Walmart shopper again because when I lived in New Hampshire, Avi, I could pull up and someone would deposit the groceries in the back of my car. And now and
Curbside.
here in Florida, they just deliver the groceries, all the brand names that I want. They just deliver it to me, and it's like almost same day. Like we just put the order in, and someone comes over, rings the doorbell, and there everything is. They make it so easy to use. The insurance thing seems like a no-brainer. It smells like Sears and Allstate. Why not?
Yeah.
You have an audience in your store, especially that target audience who is looking to save money. So, like you said, Avi, it fits the brand, right? It's healthcare. It fits the brand perfectly. Save money, live better. It fits it perfectly. They're already coming into the store, so these aren't since they're coming into the store. These aren't necessarily people that need to do a significant amount of digital shopping. They don't want to
Right.
do that. They want to talk to people, and like you said, Avi, they have become part of the community, which I think is kind of ironic, given their history and what they've done to some of these communities. So, um,
I
to
think
me,
it
it's not.
really helps
What's that?
that Walmart, well, if you think about it from a competitive standpoint, it simplifies their options when all eyes are on Amazon, right? They're considering this one player. They're looking at what Amazon is doing. They're launching a product that competes now with Amazon Prime. So they kind of have their future cut out for them because they can see what works. Vice versa, if I take this back home, and we're going to talk about Allstate in a bit, for Allstate, they have to see what works for Progressive and vice versa, what works for Mercury, and decide whether they're looking left or right and what options are they going to take to make sure that they get market share. So it's it's an interesting play.
Yeah.
I think, Nick, yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
No, I was going to say that the brokerage, that playing the distribution part is an absolute no brainer. Super high margins because the customers are already there. So acquisition costs for customers should be really low. We're probably looking at really high margin. So it's another reason I was never concerned about the Walmarts or the Amazons or the Googles, like getting into the risk bearing part of insurance. It made no sense.
No.
It's a low margin business. They had to figure out a distribution strategy where customer acquisition costs would be minimal, so they could really wring out the margin and at least meet the opportunity costs that they have in the other segments of their business. So this Walmart move, when I first saw it on your newsletter, it was just like, yeah, of course they should have done this years ago, but it really does fit in the direction that they're going and who they're competing against.
And you know what's it would be interesting to see because everybody will need to attract agents to be able to sell. And I wonder what the compensation will be like for Walmart. And if an agent would say, do I want to really deal with bad leads at Assurance IQ and try to do my magic? Or let me just work at Walmart, have an inflow of quality leads come in. They know the Walmart brand. They trust the Walmart brand. It's going to be an easier sell. So Walmart has that advantage, but it's still going to be who is able to get these agents, the good agents. But I really think Walmart can prove that you can do Medicare in a clean and nice way. Maybe the insurers won't be as happy because they won't see as many sales. But again, this is Walmart, so you should be lucky enough to be on the platform and do this properly. Very interesting. And I mean, again, bad news for Assurance IQ. It's been a bad year for Prudential. Bad news for Health IQ. Select Quote, of course, good for them. They went for an IPO. They made the money, but I predict that the stock is going to go down a bit.
And if you think about it from a career standpoint, if you go to Walmart, you start as a sales agent, call center, whatever it is, you have ways to ladder up. And this is something that currently in insurance where there's a problem, where people feel like they're stuck in the same position and we got to work hard to attract the talent. This is something probably the modern insurance are doing a better job at than the incumbents, not to mention all the layoffs that we're hearing, right? So I've been saying this for a bit. I don't think insurance is still a stable career choice. It all depends on what pockets of the company you're working at. And of course, it's kind of a cliquey business. So it depends what area and who you know, right? I wish all that will go away. But when I look at Walmart versus Health IQ versus Select Quote, from a career standpoint, attracting better talent, I'm going to bet on Walmart.
Definitely.
Well, Walmart has a history of doing that. So there's no surprise there. I do think, Avi, you said no plans to go into PNC. I don't see how they don't.
You think? Well,
they do have something in the PNC space, right? I saw an article from 2014 where they act as a legion and they send consumers to, I think it's autoinsurance.com, I believe. So they have something, but nothing substantial, right?
I think I'll tell you what the thing is. The thing with Medicare, it's completely understandable that it's a phone-driven process. They get that.
Yeah.
And with auto, I think Walmart, you said, Shefi, they looked at what is good for Amazon and they looked at what is good for them. And they really utilized their locations, as you mentioned, to do the curbside, to really offer that same day delivery. Now they said, well, this is not a liability, this location, this is an asset. Let's leverage it. Let's take advantage. And I feel like a lot of these brands, like Walmart is now a great digital brand, the acquisition of Jet, and, they're really competing in that space. I feel like if they go into auto insurance, they would say, well, can we do this online? Should we do this online? And then if it's not 100% online, they would say, well, maybe let's wait. Maybe down the road, I believe, yes, definitely. I think they could look at that. They have all these, a lot of locations have all the, where you replace your tires and you come to service your car. Yep. So it definitely makes sense distribution standpoint. But I think it will take some time for them to go to that place. But definitely, why not? I mean,
they could do it.
It's not just they could do it. They could do it better than anyone. But yeah, the question is, will they go and do it?
Yeah. Well, and Nick, what you said, basically, they're focusing on the distribution part, not being a full staff. So it makes it a lot easier to go into different products, bring on partners that they feel are worthy of playing along in this game with them. And
let's not forget they acquired some assets of CareZone, which is an app basically that helps you, schedule your medication and access your insurance cards. So there's a technology play. That's a company that was licensed to sell Medicare in 50 states. Well, so it's a marriage.
Let's skip over PNC. What about Life? Right. So how many episodes have we done a life-based conversation for this week, and it keeps coming back to how difficult it is to actually be able to issue a policy. Think about their customer base. They got the pharmacies, like they have a lot of assets already in place where people are coming in. They could sell life insurance right on the spot, and the medical exam is right there to be had.
But think about the consumer in that case. So for example, when we did the story about Walmart, so we see clicks on who opens the email. So there was a company that's very popular. You really
don't have to say everything that we see.
We don't see everything, but a company that's very popular.
You guys see everything.
Well, a company that's very popular in selling annuities and more to the older demographic, they opened the email a bunch of times, and I think what they were thinking was, hey, could we work with Walmart that they'll offer our products to the client base? But if you look at life insurance, for example, where you really target the younger generation, 30, 35, I don't see how someone like me, for example, not that I'm so sophisticated, I would say, great Walmart, sure, but am I getting the best price? Let me check this, let me check that. With Medicare, they could close the deal with one call. They'll have the customer will have that confidence that they no need to check anything else. They're getting the right price. I don't think they want to do a business right now with checking their conversion rates as much. And again, the consumer went online and he went, but
Maybe.
definitely they can
Yeah.
do it. And if they do, it's going to be a big headache for a lot of competitors in the space. But I think that the target audience, the younger generation, we stink, we ask too many questions. We don't have any money. We're idiots. So they don't want to get to that yet. I believe they will, because again, why not? The money is on the table. Go get it.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's
I think the moral of the story is Walmart has a lot of assets that digital players do not have. Advantages. Those stores, those are anchor stores in the communities, as Shefi said, or Avi. These communities. These are it's an important asset. And that's something that Google doesn't have. And one of the reasons why I thought Amazon bought like Whole Foods was, to get more into the food space, but to acquire retail assets, building assets. So I always thought from a retail perspective that the internet didn't necessarily have to kill retail. I thought that what's killing retail, like the Macy's of the world and the Brooks Brothers, is they did not digitize and make the business model a full, make the building, the property itself, an asset of the digital world and have them play on each other. And I think Apple was the first one that showed, yeah, you can do this. These two can play nicely with one another, and one amplifies the other. They complement one another. Walmart's starting to do that. Huge advantage over someone like companies like Amazon and Google, trying to pull something like this off. It remains to be seen, but this is one of the few stories where it's just like, oh boy, this is a big deal.
Yeah, a very big deal.
Yeah.
A very, very big deal.
So let's transition over to the other captive spinoff of a very large retailer, Allstate, which thanks to my friend Matthew Queen, who informed me that Allstate was a captive of Sears Roebuck, became so big they spun it off. And I'm old enough to remember going into the mall, walking through the Sears and seeing the Allstate business there. Allstate had some big news this week as well. Shefi, why don't you talk about that?
Yeah, I'm still thinking to myself, what is Allstate thinking? But here's the story. So Allstate announced that they're acquiring National General for $4 billion. And National General is basically the sister company of AmTrust and Maiden Re, basically owned by the same family. So it's a family-owned business. There's a lot of talks about AmTrust, so I'm going to leave the gray areas aside. But I think it was 2 weeks ago that they were fined $10 million for fraudulent reporting of some sort, right? I didn't go into the details. I just saw the number and I thought, well, that's peanuts for them. So, okay, somebody slapped them on the wrist. But National General is basically a specialty niche carrier. They generate about 80% of the business from 10 states. A large portion of their book is auto, non-standard auto. Obviously, they sell through agents. So for Allstate, this is a deal where they're getting closer to independent agents. And how they positioned it was, we're looking at Progressive, and Progressive is doing really well with their independent agency, and let's make a run for it. Let's see what we could do with it. So National General has quite a history. It was, so back when everybody wanted to be in insurance, General Motors, this is 1919, 1939, decided that in order to sell more cars, they need to help with financing. And they launched the General Motors, GMAC was the acronym. So I don't know how they pronounce it. I'll pronounce it as GMAC, but I'm not sure that that's correct. I'm not listening to anybody pronounce it via audio. The gist of that corporation was basically they started, financing came first because about 80% of the cars are being financed, right? People don't pay cash to buy a vehicle. And then they went into insurance, and then they went into home mortgages. that was like their biggest mistake ever, because by the time 2007 came and 2008, they really struggled. They got some money from the government. So in a sense, there was a period in time where the government owned more than 50% of the company. And then they started, insurance was always profitable, by the way, which goes back to Walmart. Like the insurance piece of the General Motors financing arm was A-okay. And part of that piece was also warranty and car services, or car servicing contract. So that was fine. Mortgage was an issue. Obviously, financing at one point also became an issue, and they started to kind of sell the company. Maiden basically bought GMAC and then renamed it to Maiden Re, and later GMAC was renamed into National General. So a whole, like, just a lot of history. And basically, this is the company that to this day is growing through acquisitions, right? They brought Direct General, they brought Farmers Union from QBE. It's a call center kind of job, so nothing about this deal sounds modern in my mind. And they make a good amount of money from servicing fees, and so basically installments, reinstating a policy, all the things that the modern players don't talk about, the free fee model that we're in, about transparency. That's not National General, and that's not what Allstate is basically getting. Lots to talk about its policy admin system, which, if that doesn't raise your eyebrow, I don't know what is. But the whole idea with the policy admin was about I think it was 3 or 4 or 5 years ago, National General acquired their policy admin from AmTrust for $200 million. So that's it. That's all I have to say, right? That's the company that Allstate acquired. And by the way, if you go to Yelp, they probably have like a 1.5 stars to their name. So there's not a lot of positive reviews. Go visit Glassdoor. You will get a kick out of the first 5 reviews, the good ones and the bad ones. Read them all. But I'll just take Allstate's word for it, which is to get closer to independent agents. There's a lot of ways to get closer to independent agent. But do you understand that the independent agent is independent for a reason? I mean, they're just going to offer Allstate. That's what this means, right? So.
Avi, I don't understand.
I
don't understand what Allstate's doing. They're
Yeah.
They're alienating and basically eliminating their direct captive agency system. They acquire National General, which requires an independent agency system. But I got the sense just a couple of weeks ago that Allstate was trying to go more direct to consumer, and basically be a progressive in that style. And it sounds like they're doing a mishmash of stuff, and to me it feels desperate.
I looked at the marketing materials of National General when it comes to independent agents. To me, it feels that they're talking to agents that just graduated kindergarten and need a lollipop for an incentive.
Oof.
That's what it feels like.
Ouch.
And that's what it is. And what Shefi said, the fact that you are getting closer to independent agents doesn't mean that that agent is going to sell you,
Right.
because if the product is not good, if that's not going to help them close the deal, they're not going to sell. Now the problem is, and this is I was talking to Shefi about it. The problem is that Allstate thinks that their product matters. It doesn't. The reality is that there are way too many insurance companies out there. You are here by mistake. By mistake. There is no need for so many insurance companies that offer the exact same product, a piece of paper with a promise. There's no difference. You need to look in the mirror and say, do I have the right to be here? The answer is no. How do you have the right to be here? Do something different. Do something different. Take that $4 billion. Be something else. Be a different company. Buy acorns. Yes, buy acorns. Do something different. To me, it's an acquisition of the past. It doesn't get you anywhere. The reason why Geico and Progressive are successful is because they market the hell out of everything. They're very smart. Allstate doesn't have,
But let's talk about substance. National General, in terms of marketing substance, so everything we're talking about is substance. But National General thinks it's competes with Geico and Progressive. They wish they were competing with Geico and Progressive. The reality is during COVID, Geico gives 15% off for a 6 months or up to 12 months policy. National General gives 15 months off for the month of April. That's it. They don't even respect their customers at this lousy time.
Yeah, it's a head scratcher to me. I have some familiarity with National General with my time at QBE. Nothing stands out. I'm not really in a position to say they're better or worse. Just nothing stands out. And like Avi says, that's not good enough. My sense is that Allstate will acquire this book, and this book is going to bleed out. So they're just gonna it's just gonna get chipped away at, and yeah, maybe it'll be worthwhile in the long run. But it just sounds like a mishmash of we're gonna buy a book and get this revenue stream and get closer to independent agents, but we are getting rid of our captive agents. I think I'm really, Avi, I'm in your camp here. They don't need to exist. Like when I think of what Allstate does, it's like it's almost no different than what State Farm does. And I don't know, it just seems so like desperate.
It's it's a strategy of the past, and we talked about this, I believe, 2 weeks ago, where we said there's no speed in insurance, because even if you do get closer to independent agents, you still need to wait on that person to prospect, close the deal. There's no scale. You can't do it fast. Now, again, this is the problem with the product. We understand that. The question is, are you in the business of making money, or are you in the business of insurance? If you're in the business of insurance, great. Go buy books of business, get closer to independent agents, go that route. If you're in the business of making money, don't think about insurance. It's very simple. And, they had the opportunity, and I get, as you said, Shefi, Walmart thought of trying to be like Amazon. And I feel like in the early years, they wanted to be like Amazon. And then they said, why should we be like Amazon? We have other places we can go to. And they went that route, and they were very successful, and they're very successful, and they're catching up and all that. Allstate is looking at Geico and Progressive, but you shouldn't look at them, because that's not the right model. That's not the right model. For them, it's right because they want you to play that game. That's the thing. They want Allstate and State Farm to come and play that game.
They can't play that game. One thing that's misunderstood about Geico, for instance, Geico is one of the fastest growing insurance companies over the last 10, 20 years. It's a huge advantage when your parent company is Berkshire Hathaway. It's a huge advantage when you don't have to buy reinsurance. It's a huge advantage when the CEO of your parent company, Warren Buffett, is telling you, because there's an accounting feature in insurance. When you sell an insurance policy, you have to book the expense of that sale 100% right away, but your premium does not get earned until over time. And so for insurance companies, growth is horrible because you're accumulating all of this expense, and the revenue is kind of coming in later down the road. Most insurance companies cannot bear that. So they have very strict growth governors to make sure that the expenses don't grow out of control. Warren Buffett told Geico, don't worry about that. Just keep growing. Grow as fast as you can within the target that we're going after. No other insurance company can really do that. They just, the reinsurance costs and what that looks like for your quarterly earnings, when you have like these massive spikes in expenses because you have to book them, it just, the regulators don't like it. For Geico, it's a different story. They had plenty of support to be able to pull that off. So the only other way to do it, Avi, the way you describe it. You have to buy it. You have to buy the business. And it seems dissatisfying.
Again, if you are offering one product today, and it doesn't matter if your name is Geico, Progressive, or Allstate, unless you come in with a good price or you have this agent that is able to sell you no matter what, you really can't expect to get all the business. And what I feel like Allstate is trying to force their way to get more business, that's not the right approach. It's not smart money-wise, like how much are you investing to get back? You need to understand that if you are offering one product that is exactly the same as everyone else's, you can expect to win someone's business on a regular basis. It doesn't work because everybody is different. If you need to go out, just like Walmart did, Walmart didn't say, hey, let's be a carrier and offer one product. No, let's be a broker, offer a lot of products. Let someone decide, whatever. Who cares? We're going to still make the money. That's the mindset you need to have today if you want to win in insurance. You're not going to be Geico. You're not going to be Progressive. And if you don't think that way, then you're going to get into trouble. Yeah. Very simple.
Yeah. I would like to finish this episode of This Week in Coverager. We had a little discussion beforehand. I think we'd be remiss if we at least didn't bring it up. So instead of bringing it up and beating it like a dead horse, I want to get Avi and Shefi's opinion. Lemonade IPO'd at $29. In 2 days, it went up to 95, giving it a market cap of $5 billion, which is remarkable. I think they're down into the 70s now. So a year from now, both of you, where's the stock price?
Shefi?
Oh gosh.
Want me to go first?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. They're going to have 4 quarterly earnings and an annual report that they're going to have to release. My guess is that the stock price, it's going to be hard for it to come down until those quarterly earnings come in. I think ultimately that and the pressure of the founders who are going to release their shares, they're going to want to try to capitalize on this. My guess is at 1 year from now, the stock price will be around $35.
Yeah, that's
I mean, I'll back you up on that.
Yeah,
we'll back you up on that.
Yeah, so we're not experts on speculating.
Well, you can't be an expert on public opinion.
Yeah,
and the public doesn't understand insurance semantics. Not necessarily that that's the only thing that you have to go by nowadays. Lemonade just proved everybody holding on to KPIs and equity analysts of the world that they're wrong, right? That you can go in and get this crazy valuation based on market perception of where you're going to take the company.
Sure.
And so that's the game that they're playing in.
The thing is that we talked about, the damage and the success of Lemonade, like what was good and what was bad. And I feel personally now that they are a public company, I feel like the industry can let go of Lemonade. I really feel that they can say, okay, that kind of ship has sailed, because my opinion is that a lot of what Lemonade said, some insurance companies took to heart, of delighting customers and chatbots and digital first and mobile friendly and all that stuff. And it's important to have these things. It's really important. You're not going to win with that, and Lemonade is proof. Lemonade is going to really, because if you give them a check mark on speed, Lemonade is probably one of the slowest startups in the history of startups. They didn't do much. They stuck with one product, didn't change anything about their website. They launched an API and that policy 2.0 that went nowhere. They didn't add any new products. They didn't expand nationwide, because again, for them, it was all about a game. Let's come in with the most potential, undamaged, as we talked about. That's what they did. And now they're going to have, as you said, Nick, there's going to be pressure, and they're going to have to say, well, okay, here are new products. They can't just stick with renters, because if they just stick with renters, the price is going to go down. And at the end of the day, the founders do want to sell and want to make the money. But I feel like with Lemonade, it was always about taking one step and then strategizing again, because it didn't go according to plan when they launched. They had a few places where they were stuck and they needed to figure it out. I think the IPO for them was, let's take a deep breath. We did step one. Now let's think what we can do to show that we're not just renters insurance, and to talk about that graduation and all that stuff. But I feel like the industry really needs to let go, because Lemonade is not the answer. It's really not the answer. And now focus on what you can do to be better. And again, it doesn't start
That's really
around
the
insurance.
360 view here, right? Walmart was looking at Amazon all those years, focused on what it could do. Okay, let's, Lemonade founders will, to your point, there's going to be some sort of exit from shares. We've seen what Lemonade can do. Everything else is TBD. Let's not forget they've got SoftBank behind them. And you've said this in previous episodes, Nick. A lot of it is the connections of the founders and that ecosystem. And obviously when they bring somebody like Scott Galloway to talk about them, and you connect the dots and you see that Scott is the founder of L2, and L2 is backed by General Catalyst. General Catalyst backs Lemonade. And you've got this ecosystem of companies and people that are promoting them. Let's put that aside. Not everybody can replicate that. But if you're the Travelers of the world, get to a point where people know, where your policyholders know the CEO by name. Let's start at that. I mean, that's where I would go, right? Make it personal. I think that's the only way to move a little bit from the traditional world of insurance we live in, and get people to buy in. Because again, insurance is a good product. There's not much for you to do, but stand behind it. And I know most of the crowd here is male, but there's a company called The Ordinary, and they basically do beauty supply, so creams and all that fun stuff.
What's the name of the company?
The Ordinary.
The Ordinary.
The Ordinary. And the whole idea with them is that they basically said, all other creams out there are a scam, because you pay $50 for a cream or so, and The Ordinary is something like $7, $8. The most expensive product is probably $15. They stand behind what they say. And what I mean by that is when somebody has a question, they respond. And let me tell you something about this whole modern entrance, or the new world of insurance that we live in, right? Why is it the same? Because when people complain about a claim online, nobody addresses it. Nobody makes the consumer smarter about why the claim was denied, or why he isn't getting the support he needs. It's all DM us or send us a private email. There really isn't transparency. Transparency is just a word we use very lightly, right? So that's the opportunity. It's so easy for us. We can sit here for 2 hours and talk about the Lemonade IPO. It's over. Now take your, this is your chance. You've seen everything you can see from Lemonade. They're gonna go into pet insurance. They're gonna go into the low, small tail risks, everything that they can kind of predict.
Life insurance.
Maybe life insurance, right? Yeah. They said there's a Lemonade life insurance agency, yep. Right?
I'll tell you what, I'll tell you something about Lemonade, and this is, I feel like, the startup scene, and I credit Twitter for this, and I got scammed as well, I can tell you. When I bought Allbirds, everybody was tweeting about Allbirds, the shoes, and it was like, okay, I mean, hip, cool, whatever. I hate Nike, Adidas, they stink, whatever. I bought the shoes, piece of shit, okay? And for $100, over $100, and I made the mistake again. Okay, so here's my second mistake, because I want to be cool and hip. I bought Adams. I don't know if you saw that company, and they came as an alternative to Allbirds, and they have this box, an amazing box that opens like with a magnet and closes. They redesigned the shoebox. That's what they did. And Adidas apparently stole that design. So I bought those shoes. I actually got a private message on Twitter from the investor, one of the investors, with a $20 off. So I bought the shoes, very nice design, much better than Allbirds, I can tell you, but not comfortable at all. And then I said, you know what, Avi, it's time to go old school. And I went and I got Cole Haan's, which was owned by Nike. And what a great shoe. And you know what I did with Cole Haan? Let me tell you what I did when I was desperate. I said, I trust the brand. This is trust. I bought a final sale. You know what a final sale is? You cannot return it. You cannot return a final sale. They say this item is non-refundable. So
That's
if I got
trust.
that is trust. That is trust in a brand. And, you know, that's what you need to strive to. And I feel like Lemonade benefited from the whole like Twitter community of cool tech people that have a lot of money and nothing to do. And it's like, oh, I'm waiting for Lemonade. Oh, blah, blah, blah. And when we saw that tweet from the Graycroft partner, and someone said, well, at least Lemonade doesn't require me to fax anything. And someone said, well, I just bought from Geico. They didn't ask for any faxes. It just, there's no advocates for Geico online because Geico is not looking for that, I think. And there's a lot of advocates for Lemonade because that was part of their strategy.
Yeah.
No one can do that. You know, it's not something you can do on a regular basis. It's not real. Don't focus on it. At the end of the day, once you raise the prices to those cool tech people, they're going to be also the first to say, shame on you. Why did you raise the price? It's a trap. Don't buy Allbirds. Don't buy Adams. Don't go for it. Go old school. Go Walmart. Go Nike. Go Adidas. They know what they're doing.
You cannot beat this.
Hard to end on a better note than that. But I'm going to add one more thing, not to beat a dead horse. I still hate the name. I'm sorry. I still think it's a horrible, horrible name, Lemonade. Ugh, like it just still like who thought of that? Like that's terrible. Sorry, I don't like it. Anyways, what a busy week. Wow, like basically a magnitude 7 earthquake hit insurance over the past 2 weeks, and it's why we do this particular podcast. Of course, I don't have my fading music out, so maybe I'll plug it in as I'm editing this. But Avi, Shefi, we can only hope there are more weeks like this. So thank you so much. It's the week of July 10th. I forgot to open up with that, and I was like memorizing that date. It's the week of July 10th. Thank you all for listening, watching. If there are any topics or whatever that you think are important, you can always reach out to Avi, Shefi, or myself. But always parting with, it's still a pandemic out there, so wash your hands, sanitize everything, and just wear a mask. It's not that big a deal. Come on, people, just wear a mask. So Shefi, Avi, thank you.
Thank you. Have a good week.
Thank you.
Have a good week, everyone. Thank you.